All right, hey everybody, it is time to talk about the new units. Not those units though. Get that out of here. Okay. All right, so not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the obvious big news today. The news that everybody was kind of expecting, and yes, sure enough, this is exactly what we are getting. Esther, as well as a new vision card, the dreamiest of eggs. And if you're wondering about the music choice, just think about what a rabbit does, and it'll come to you, especially if you play this game. And if not, it might be a little bit of a mystery. But yeah, we're here to talk about Esther as well as the vision card. And I'm going to only be going off this video, at least for the first. This is my initial impressions of Esther, and more importantly, it's my initial impressions of Esther without any of the extra details, without anything that they may have said in the reveal YouTube video. I want to take it on face value from what we have here, but more importantly, I want to talk about the trend. And by the way, my hair is getting longer, so it's getting frizzier, and it's just distracting me on camera. Look at that. You know what? Let's just screw it. It's everywhere. All right, we're fine. This is how I look. All right, so Esther. Esther is a Thunder-based unit. She is a 100 cost unit. She's limited as well, and that really isn't that surprising. This seems to be a trend with just the way that global works nowadays, of it just being, hey, guess what? Here you are. This thing, it exists now, kind of thing, and but only for a limited time. So make sure you spend properly. But Esther is a little bit weird in a lot of aspects. So yeah, starting off with a limit burst, Bunny Bolt, raise own defense piercing rate, as well as then deal large damage to targets within range, lower slash attack resistance for 3 turns. Now, in all honesty, this sounds very similar to a character that we already have on JP, but just, the things are effectively tweaked, kind of thing. And this is can hit multiple units, whereas the other guy can only hit 1. And yeah, she does, at least her limit burst feels very similar to Astoria. And honestly, I don't know how often you're going to be able to rely on auto using this limit burst to hit multiple characters at once. Obviously, in Arena, you need a proper kind of funneling channel to potentially, catch multiple people in here. But it is a consideration that this is just going to be a strong limit burst, and there isn't really much to say to that. The only thing is that it's definitely going to be a capped limit burst. There's no chaining thing that it can do with this. There's nothing really extra. It's just effectively a good, how do I put this? It's a really, really good enabler for other Thunder-based slash characters. I mean, you could even just run this character what feels like with slash characters. But if we were just taking a look here, let's theoretically say that one day Tactics does come back. Orlando's a big consideration. Hell, O's a consideration. But obviously, Cloud is another major. Thunder Slash is not completely empty, how to say this, in a snarky kind of way, because obviously it does have some really good characters and there is some good synergy here. So yeah, all in all, with Esther coming to the game and having that kind of a limit burst, it is a really good limit burst, but it does remind me a lot of Astoria just because it is, effectively dealing a lot of damage against probably what most of the time will be a single target, and enabling, more slash-based units, as well as just dealing a ton of damage. So that's essentially what I'm getting at. Next up is Bolting Strike. I do remember this from the FFE days, the name of this attack. So lowers a target's unit attack resistance for 3 turns, deals damage M to the target, and a recovery a set percentage of own HP, small when landing critical hit. So very synergistic with Cloud based on this ability. And honestly, medium damage isn't going to be really impressive, and I don't expect this outside of a chain to really recover that much HP, especially because, sometimes you can just miss a critical hit, but there you go. Last but not least is Magnetic Force. And honestly, Magnetic Force, it's an AoE limit or boost. I'm just going to pull up this image really quickly. It wasn't working for a second there on my computer, but I think now, yeah, there we go. We got it. So yeah, you can see Bunny Bolt, Blitz, Bolting Strike, and this is going to be actually, the reason I pulled this up is because I want to talk about something that is distinctly sticking out to me. Next up, Magnetic Force. Raise area attack resistance of allies within range around self for 3 turns. Bestow a barrier on self that reduces damage 3 times. Strong ability, no question in my mind. Barriers are really good. I would prefer it if this had been like maybe all damage types, but then again, that could be really, really strong. The area of resistance stuff is good as well, just against mages, provided that the mage is not a single target based unit kind of attack, but it is good. It is good. It's working something towards a team-based strategy. It's also giving her a little bit of extra protection. I mean, this is what new Brave Exvius generation units are effectively doing a lot of the time, doing more things than their previous counterparts could. And that's enough. That is essentially. So before I go back up and talk about, different jobs that she has, I want to take a look at all 3 of these skills. First of all, I think that she's very synergistic with Cloud. That seems to be like what they're getting at here with some critical hit stuff in her kit. We're also looking at damage reducer, so she's basically meant to be a brawly type character. And that is also supported by the idea that she really doesn't have that great of range on any of her attacks that are being featured here. Matter of fact, it's a little bit concerning. Doesn't seem like she has access to a ton of AoEs unless they're in the rest of her kit. It is a brand new job. Could have a diamond AoE potentially in there to help with farming. Could have a lot of different stuff. But other than her limit burst, I'm not seeing really a ton of AoE, which makes me think she's going to be a lot of single target. And that's fine. It's just, given some of the units that do come in the future from a JP player perspective, I would want to see more than this. This is a little concerning. Not too terribly, because she could just end up being a really tanky character, as we're about to get into her sub-jobs. I think that there's, it's not really scary all that much, what we're looking at here. It's just, I really would love to see the completed version of her kit later this week to really get into whether or not I think that she would be really good here on the JPs. And taking a look at her main job, Precursor, we don't really have any data on this given from the in-game post. And that's fine. They talked about it more in the YouTube video. I'll get to it, or people will tell me about it later. It's fine. I'll get there. As for Paladin and Thief, interesting combination here. Paladin definitely makes me think that they want her to be very, very brawly type character, because her main job seems to have barriers. Her Paladin might have guts. You might be just running her just for that. If it doesn't, maybe a track blade, but I don't know if that's really that great. Thief could have some CT change abilities, which could be useful in guild raids and whatnot for players who are looking for that kind of thing. But Thief is the worst, going to give her some more speed and also give her potentially more movement options, which is nice, and Paladin is just going to make her a little bit more resilient. So great, that's fantastic. Now I'll just talk about the dreamiest of eggs. We don't get to see, unfortunately, Esther's master ability, which is one of the weird things because they do it on JP, but anyway, the new vision card is giving basically it's a lightning type vision card, which is to be expected. She's a lightning type character. For Esther only, it's giving max HP up and critical rate up. 2 things that'll probably be very important to her, because that seems to be what she wants. Brawly and getting more criticals. As for limited bestowed effect, it's only attack up, so I'm assuming it's a fair amount of attack up. And as for the party, slash attack distance piercing rate up, max HP up, and for the unlocked at max unit Attack resistance up. Seems like a really good vision card. I don't really know what else to say here. It just seems like a strong vision card because it works with a lot of characters. Now, keep in mind that in the future, there are characters such as Resnick, Queen are being added to the game, and at the moment, at the time of recording, we're not sure exactly when Orlando is getting it. So Esther probably feels a little bit like you already have Cloud, or you already have, Fairmount in Thunder. But more than that, I think there's something else interesting. So Esther is very clearly a Thunder unit, right? Like, we all got that because it says so right on the thing. And her vision card is basically pushing Thunder really hard. So what exactly is this unit responding to? And in all honesty, it's responding to a problem that Global doesn't have. JP has it. JP kind of has it. You see, the thing is that right now, from what I've heard from a lot of the global community, not all of the global community, but that light evasion is the big thing. It's the thing that everyone has to deal with on their day to work, or on their way to work, or their daily lives, and all of that. It's very sad. But yeah, that's the thing that I keep hearing from Globalers. So that's the thing that I am assuming that Esther is here to really go up against. And to that extent, because it can't be selling people on the fear of Astoria, because Astoria is not out yet. And if Esther is just too good, then there isn't going to be an Astoria problem. There isn't going to be a water issue for the most part. As a matter of fact, this is what would happen. Let's say Esther comes out and is insanely strong, really powerful, almost no one can beat her, and she changes the meta to a Thunder meta. Okay, well, that really sucks for water, but that's just going to push the Earth element to being really popular to counter that. And, eventually win and so on kind of thing. But it will get Global away from the light meta. That is a net positive, I think. Just to give some changes. But if Thunder ends up being really, really strong, then, there's going to be these Earth characters, there's going to be like a shift eventually, and there's potentially going to be another Earth character that shows up, and maybe a new Globalist, who knows. And you know what? People who just get water are just going to, I think, eventually just slip by kind of thing, and will be totally fine. But the point is that the water issue will never come as bad as it was on JP, because this unit exists. And so really what Gumi is trying to do is they are trying to sell you on Esther for a problem that doesn't exist, that won't exist if this unit is popular. And it's just mind games at this point. But honestly, Esther really feels, I think the better question that Globalers should be asking is Esther going to make any kind of a difference in the light / evasion meta? And I think the answer is probably not, for a couple of reasons. One, in her description, at least from in-game, nothing here says that she is going to be hyper accurate. Anything, she's based on critical, dealing damage, and that's it. None of her jobs really bestow a ton of faith in a lot of accuracy. I guess the best example of her getting accuracy would be maybe from Thief, right? Because Thief, I do believe. I'm even going to double check the Thief. I don't know, just enjoy the minute for the music while I think about this. Because this is an initial impression. I'm allowed to take my time. I know a lot of units have Thief. I'm looking for like an actual professional to get an idea of the job. Ziza is the one that came. Yeah, Thieves can decrease accuracy and increase evasion rate. So I'm curious whether Esther is more of a evasion critical character. I mean, there seems to be just a fair bit that feels like she's being pulled in a lot of different directions, and she may not necessarily answer the problem that Global has. Take a look at it this way. Let's say that she has really not great accuracy. I mean, her vision card isn't supporting it, and lightning as an element is not one that I think of for accuracy, compared to some of the stuff that we have on JP. So she comes out, she can't deal with light evasion, and who's the character that everyone keeps telling me is the most lightest evasionist character of all? Well, it turns out to be Elena, and Elena's a mage, and, well, Esther's barrier doesn't protect really her from that kind of thing so much. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure that she's going to be that good against mages either. Esther feels like a answer to a problem, and I think this is, short of seeing her kit and looking at it in full later, because I want to see the details. I don't want to hear necessarily the stuff in YouTube in case there's errors or whatever, and there could be errors in YouTube, but Esther feels like an answer to a problem that doesn't exist on Global, and if she becomes too popular, it won't be a problem on her. And then effectively they're selling you air. I mean, I'm sure that she'll be a great character because all the Global exclusives. Lots of Global exclusives comes out and are just overtuned because they are competing with stuff that is not out yet to try and get you guys to spend more on things you did not know you wanted, kind of thing. And the only way to do that is to create a problem. And guess what? They know you watch videos like this. They know you are tapped into what is coming in the future to try and save resources and save money, and these are the curveballs. But this is just kind of a weird curveball to throw, because it doesn't really seem to focus at all on Global. It doesn't really focus on anything going on in Global at the moment. It feels entirely focused on JP for a problem that JP has moved away from effectively, because there's lots of different elemental teams on JP. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of light evasion the past couple weeks because Elena came out, but now that Majin Pina's around, there's going to be a lot of dark teams too. Honestly, my initial impression is let Wales or any super fan take the lead on this one to really find out. I mean, yeah, if you're a lightning based team or a lightning kind of strong account, you'll probably want to add this character regardless to your team because that's just your element. But I mean, he doesn't really feel like she is answering enough of the issues on Global and really responding to what is going on Global. And I just don't think it's really worth answering to a problem on JP that, again, has mostly come and gone at this point. If you're really looking at Esther to kill Celeste, I'll break it to you right now. If you already had Cloud and, what's her name? Charlotte. You were pretty much good for dealing with Celeste anyway. People have already kind of figured that out. So Esther, I think, is a project for people who really, really love lightning thunder units, who want to keep building those kind of units and making strong and potentially going really strong with Orlando in the distant future. But really, I don't know. I just don't see how this answers what globalers are really looking for right now as a market. And maybe that's a good thing, because you know what? There's Persona coming out. People are going to potentially want to go for Joker and whatnot. And Majin Pina, people are maybe shifting more towards dark-based stuff. You don't know. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think of the initial impression of Esther. And yeah, initial impressions are just that. So keep that in mind watching this video. And as for any issues with the microphone, I honestly don't know where they're coming from. Thanks for watching.